stuff here. So I'll start the record, and I'll just go back, and there we go. All right, here we go. So
okay, we are now recording. Judith, take it away.
All right, so with that said, what to expect when you're expecting? And there's a lot to expect, and I have to say, Joan has been through authors, I've certainly been through authors. It gets truly overwhelming in this process of what we're doing. So let's just kind of go from the very beginning of what to expect when we're expecting, and it's literally the good, the bad, and sometimes the oh so ugly that people get into. So when it's good, everything is just, you know, the angels have descended and things are wonderful, and everything is just going perfectly right on schedule and on time. The reality is it doesn't always do that. So then you can get into the bad, which has a few hiccups, or the really ugly, which is actually when you go down and get involved with what we call the publishing predators. We're not going to be spending time on the predators tonight. We're going to be looking at just your timelines and the costs if you've got things basically under control. So the bad, and then when you feel like you're losing your shirt with that. So the cost. The very good is when it's your manuscript. When you come to someone like me, your manuscript is really well written. The edit, you know, if the writing is tight, I know that I'm not going to have to bang my head on the wall rewriting the whole thing. And basically, it needs fine-tuning and the tweaking, and it's going to move into copy editing, and I'm going to get into what copy editing is. Next is the author, him or herself, is really decisive, and they can make really quick decisions instead of having to diddle and noodle all the time and gaze into their belly button and go off into different directions. I mean, they really know succinctly what they want. They've got some kind of timelines. What I love is if an author comes into my office, let's say right now today it's August 6th, they come in and they say, you know what, I need, you know, I haven't done anything, I've just written my book, but I need to have books in hand by January 12th. Can you do it? All right, if the book is clean and I can move it to editing with everything else, or maybe it just needs some little rewrites here and there, I'm really confident to say absolutely, you will have books in hand on the 12th. And I know that I've got two major holidays. I've got Thanksgiving here in the United States, and I've got Hanukkah and Christmas, where you're going to lose a couple of weeks by the time it's all over with people doing what they do during those times. I know that with the scheduling we can do, you can have books in hand that first month of the year. And you know, the first month of the year is not very far off. I mean, we could even get books in hand in December if need be, and in some cases, if we really are tight, is a possibility August. But boy, the stars have to be in alignment. And what's also brings in the good is the author is marketing savvy, and they get what's going on in social media. They've got those channels set up, or they can move very fast, or they've got the capability to bring in someone to assist them in that arena. Otherwise, you're going to have a few slowdowns as we move along. All right, so the first part of editing is what I want to bring up is called content or developmental editing. And that's where sometimes we almost have to end up ghosting what's happening with a book. So here's what the costs look like. That if you need someone that needs to really fix, to really need to doctor your book, I took some data from the Editorial Freelancers Association. You can spend anywhere from 45 to 100 plus an hour based on the experience of the editor you're working with. So if you want to do some number crunching, 70,000 words, or roughly 250 per page, comes out to be 280 pages. Those 280 pages that could run 5 pages per hour could be 56 hours. Multiply 56 by 45 at the low end, and you're getting 2520. Your high end could be around 20,000. I've had some books that I mean, they become known as the dreaded fill-in-the-blank book in our office, that have come in that have been, one author who comes to mind delivered his book in an formal high school outline form. I mean, I had Roman numerals. I had ABC. I had capital ABC, lowercase ABC, small letters. You know, I had Roman numerals. It was a mess. It was just a mess. And the book literally had to be written. And one of the problems was this was a professional, and he felt the book would be good for his business, that he had 3 or 4 people involved in his business all compiled different things. So there was no continuity voice. There was nothing I could say seamless about it, with the exception is there were just reams and reams of paper. So I ended up putting in and lost my shirt on it because I did not realize the in-depth mess it was. Over 300 hours to turn it into a book. So the best thing you can do is say,
we have a question. Somebody wants to know why would you accept a manuscript like that?
Well, because we only saw the first part of it, and the first part was a foreword cleaned up, and then there was a table of contents. It's a great question, and I bang my head on the wall for that. But I'm one of these people, once I make a commitment, by God, I'm going to figure out how to fix it. So I ate 200 hours of work getting this book done. But would I do it again? Absolutely not. In fact, we put in some new clauses in our contract that will stop the whole process. So thank you for asking that question for that. But anyway, so I do content development editing. I do not do copy editing. What's copy editing? Good question. Copy editing is with the assumption that your manuscript comes in fairly good shape, and they're going after catch spelling mistakes. They're going to adjust for grammar. Maybe some of your phrases are a little bit goofy or need to be fixed, or there's not enough clarity. Or there's some situations where, I mean, we've seen books where characters in fiction changes their name, and it's the same character in the book that we've picked up and we've caught. Punctuation, you're looking for consistency. And I think what's important to say to everyone, what's truly critical, is that whoever you work with editing, it's just really important to honor your voice. You, meaning the author, honor your voice. Don't let an editor take over a book and make it his or her book, and all of a sudden it's like, I wouldn't say it that way. So it's really important, and I know I work really hard of trying to maintain that. In other words, for copy editing, we're not talking about major rewrites. Now, the cost factors are ranging from 2 to 10 manuscript pages per hour. When I do content development editing, sometimes I have to noodle over a page for several hours until I can just bring it together, or I make the decision I'm going to trash the whole thing and just rewrite it. But so this is the fine difference, is they can really pick up and flow through it. $25 to $50 an hour is kind of used based on experience. I have seen it a little bit higher. The very low end you're going to spend for copy editing is $500. I've seen it go as high as $7,000 for some very long manuscripts, in-depth historical type books that are going to require some fact-checking involved in. I try to always tell author, you know, you're responsible for all websites. Make sure they're happy, and whatever links you're telling people about, they better work. But all those kind of things can come in play. And also, I think it's important to say, when you get your book back, and when we go into what I call the cold eye edit, which is what is coming up next, the cold eye edit. This is the final read through before printing. Now, we call it a cold eye edit. I don't know what the term is out there. A lot of people don't even do this. I'm going to highly recommend it for all of you. The worst case, you're going to have a copy edit, but the smart authors do a cold eye edit. So what that is there is a final read through before it goes to print, and it is done post layout of your book, and it is done when the book is absolutely printed out. This is not done. Eventually everything's going to get put on the computer with your layout per person you're working with, but this is not done on the computer. I want you to get off the screen, stop looking at it. I want you to sit down with whatever your favorite beverage is. Jeremy's going to have his coffee in the morning. You know, someone else may be a glass of wine. Whatever it is, I want you to sit down and read like you're going to read a book. and I want you to read it out loud, and you will be amazed at what's going to pop out. From all of a sudden, this sentence doesn't make sense, to these are backward quote marks, there's a double period in here, little things that you think, oh, the copy editor should have all got, they don't. But it really, once a book goes into formal layout, you will be amazed what pops out. And this is not an expensive thing, really, for us. Our fees, the people we've got to do our cold eye, ranges from $300 to $500 if it's a very big or a techie book. The person who does this is not allowed to be involved in developmental or copy editing. I want someone who, we tell them we have a book coming, I'm going to be sending your way, and the kind of time frame it's coming, but they're not allowed to see the book until it's ready to be seen. I don't want them tainted or even thinking about anything in that line. It has to be truly a cold eye. And then all those corrections, in our office, they always come to me. I'm the final person who, a lot of times I'll reject what the cold eye suggests to do. There are times that I can just answer, great deal, I can answer and resolve them. The changes, accept or reject, and there are times I need to call the author and say, what were you thinking? We missed this, and we need to fix it. During a cold eye edit, during your post layout read, this, and by the way, you as the author should be reading too and looking for changes that you see, and then they need to all come together. During this time frame, though, what's really important here is that it goes into one person, it's ready to go, and please, you're not rewriting anything. You are not, you're looking for glaring things that don't make sense, or that they're typos or punctuation, or something has gone astray. But you're not rewriting, and I've told authors, if you're going to take out a paragraph, by God, you're going to write another paragraph and insert it in, because if you don't, you're talking about now going back to layout, and guess what layout's going to do? They're going to have to relay it out again, at least that section. Maybe it's just a page and it can all be intact. But imagine this. Let's say that you had an index. Indexes are done after a book is totally laid out, and then there is a PDF. It goes to the indexer, who is a different person too, and I didn't even put anything in here for indexing. So indexing can cost, on the very low side, $500. Sometimes they cost up to a couple of $1,000, and that's going to be for a very detailed. It could be a medical one, could be much more detailed. I have a book in the house right now that's all about systems management for computer-related technology, and it's extraordinarily detailed. And there's no way we could touch it for $500 with the detail that the author demanded he needed. So cold eye edits are very important. I'm going to encourage all of you to do that. This is not your mom. It's not your spouse. Doesn't mean mom and spouse shouldn't read it, because they'll catch stuff too. But it's really someone, this is what they do. All right. And then I should say, Joan, we're going to have questions at the end, so you can stockpile them or you can write them in, and then Joan will pick them up as we go along. All right, getting your ISBN. All right, an ISBN stands for International Standard Book Number. It's recommended if you're doing a print book or you want it placed in the library. If you don't care about selling it anywhere but at the back of the room where you might be speaking or to a close circle of friends, then you don't need an ISBN. I think it's one of the things that separates the good from the ugly. And people who are serious, want to be seriously successful with the books, will make sure that they have an ISBN on the back. Third parties sell ISBNs every day. And I'm going to tell you, I know we do, Michelle DeFlippio and Amy Collins and I do Authoring Mentoring Mondays every Monday morning. And this was a big question last Monday. Don't buy them from third parties. The ISBN is affiliated with the publishing house that acquires them. And if you decide, I want to publish my book, for example, through CreateSpace, oh, they have a gazillion of them that they can assign to you. But if there's a deep dive into who the publisher is, guess what? It's not your little hen press. It is create space that shows in the deep dive databanks. You don't want to do that. Not everyone believes that you need an ISBN, but we're going to recommend that you do. Cost. If you want to get a single one, it's $125. If you want to get a bank of 10, it's $595. If you want to jump it up for 100, you can get it for $595, $595, and if you want 1,000, well, you can pay $1,000. Bowker is the only authorized ISBN retailer in North America, North America, and the best way to go to get this information, they've created a very intuitive site, myidentifiers.com, for you to use. So please do that. And that you're going to, and by the way, you're going to use one for your, if you have a print book or you do print on demand, you're going to use one. You have an e-book, even though Amazon will assign their own e number, you still want to do it because others want you, other platforms want you to have an ISBN. And if you go back and do a revision, 30% more of your book means you got a new book. You need a new ISBN. If you have a hardcover, that's one ISBN. If you have a paperback, it's one ISBN. And if you went to a mass market, remember the mass market books, that's another ISBN. So every variation has
what about new editions of the same book?
It depends upon how much, not necessarily. It depends upon how much new you have. And if it's over 25 up to 30%, that's a new book.
Mm-hmm.
So and also everybody make sure that you update your copyright in those cases.
Okay.
And
we have an interesting comment from somebody about this. She says Bowker is not the only ISBN source in North America. Canadians get theirs free from the Canadian government's ISBN agency.
You know what? She is correct. She is correct.
Thank you, Judith.
Yeah, and you know what? We used to get them for free too. About 10 years ago, Bowker figured out they could sell them. Mm-hmm. I pulled down 100 when I started my publishing company in 2000, and they were all free.
And somebody wants to know, do audiobooks need an ISBN?
They don't, but it wouldn't hurt to do it.
Okay.
But let me just say this, you don't need one for them. If you're going to be going into a bookstore and try to sell them there, you should have one because you're going to need it with all your coding that goes along. And if you have just a bank of 10, and certainly we're going to be talking about repurposing on our cruise that we do here coming up in January. But the whole idea is if you redo your book, all of a sudden your book breeds more books. I had a client in Hong Kong who came in for one book and left with 15 books by the time we were done, that you will need more ISBNs. And so if you have one for a print and one for an e, there's 2. And if then all of a sudden, and books breed more books, all of a sudden they get gobbled up quickly. So, but at least 10, that would be my recommendation. All right, getting your book printed. Oh, this is where a big cost comes into play. So you can go with the print-on-demand service, the POD, like CreateSpace and Ingram Spark, and you notice a little asterisk. I'll come back to that. The book only gets printed when someone buys it. It's on-demand type thing. On-demand printing costs more money, just one at a time. If you're doing a short run, which is less than 500 books, or an offset run, lots, prices will vary. So, and here is where quantity comes into play. The more you get, the price per unit goes down. Simple kind of production-related manufacturing costs. For print on demand, your cost can run anywhere from $3 and up. An offset could be $1 and less for 1,000 books, depending upon the size of the book. So what you have to do is, you're going to have to get some bids here. Amazon on its CreateSpace, as well as Ingram Sparks, they've got calculators on their site. You can figure out how much it costs per unit based on the size of your book and how many pages in the book is once it's laid out. And when we go to our offset printers for our clients to get a quote, that we will get them, let's say at 500, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 copies, so the author can see what is the cost per unit as it declines. And interesting enough, I can get a quote of, let's say, 1,000 books for $2,700. And for $1,500, it would cost me maybe $3,300. So here's where you have to do your math, and you need to do your calculations as they come in. For $600 more, I could get 500 more books. So what's my game plan? What's my marketing plan? How am I going to move this? What's the price of my book? Let's say my book is $20 a share. $20 a book a share, it stocks. $20 a book. And I can get 600 more books at $20 more a book. 600 times 20 is $12,000 if I sold them full price. If I sold them through Amazon or through any other retailer at roughly a 55% discount, which is what your discount's going to run, so I would be bringing in around $5,000. Is it worthwhile for me to spend $600 more to get anywhere from $5,000 to $12,000 more? And you start crunching your numbers, and it's just very important to understand that concept, because a lot of times people are going to keep it low. I don't want you to sit with a garage full of a ton of books, and I don't want them to be gathering cobwebs, because what we want you to do, and Joan's going to be really talking about how do you get attention to move those books next week, is that it's very important to get those game plans, start noodling them and thinking about them, and how am I going to move them. I know that one of our listeners has, I was going to say hundreds of thousands, 100,000 listeners on one of her radio shows. I'm really confident she is going to move a lot of books. So that's important to understand. You know, would it make sense to go from 1,000 to 1,500, get 600 more books, or spend $600 more to get 500 more books? I think in her case the odds would be yes, because of moving them. So important to think about that. Short runs are excellent for doing review copies. They're excellent for just getting a feeler out to see if there's a test. We've done that with a lot of new fiction writers to find out, do we have our market? Can we build it? Can we grow it that way? All right, next up, reviews. You know, so how do we go about this whole cost of reviews for pre-publication? There are many resources to get these. Sites like Kirkus, Library Journal, Publishers Weekly, Forward Reviews, all need to be researched. If you go to just the website, Kirkus.com, KirkusReviews.com, LibraryJournal.com, PublishersWeekly.com, ForwardReviews.com. And Publishers Weekly has created a new division called Book Life. And that's for this, what this slide is for, is the author considered the publisher, and we're going to try to do this pre-publication. If you can get a review in Library Journal, that is a gold. It's a gold standard, because librarians really pay attention and can pick up it that way. Forward Reviews is the #1 independent reviewer for independent press. And they're hugely respected, and they also have an extraordinarily close relationship with Library Journal. So Library Journal pays attention to Forward Reviews. And finding that the cost for pre-publication, if any of these are picked up, is zip. Nothing. But what if they don't pick you up? And by the way, you also have to send these out. You've got to go into their, when their website, you look for Publishers Review Submission Guidelines. That most of them, of the ones I just mentioned above, are going to want it 3 to 4 months before your book is officially published. So you don't send a ream of paper to them, and you don't send, although sometimes they'll look at a PDF, you are much better to create what we call an ARC, which is also known as Advanced Reader Copy. And for any of you who are considering doing that, I don't have a slide that says this, but one of the printing companies that I've used that I've been very happy with for creating advanced reader copies is Total Printing Systems. Total Printing Systems. And if any of you want a direct contact, just email me directly for that, and I will send you the contact there. But we've gotten wonderful review copies for around $3.20. And I've had some of my authors say if my printed book would look this good, I'd be happy.
Judith, do these ARCs have pretty covers?
Yes, yes, they'll be full color. You can do a matte or a gloss. Now, what will be different? What will be different, Joan, on the back? The back copy is going to be like a 2/3 copy, like you might have on the back copy of your regular book. But on the lower section, there is going to be information like here's the because you're not going to have a barcode or anything. You're going to have here's the ISBN. It's going to be it's going to be case bound for hardback. It's going to be a perfect bound for a paper. It's going to be this is what the price is. We're going to have marketing here. I'm going to have here's my name and my publicist. Here is, and of course, the author's name. And then they're going to want for what are you going to do? What's the game plan? What's your marketing budget? And you're thinking, well, geez, I was thinking like $2. Well, you don't put that down. But you may say, oh, I'm going to have $20,000 in co-op advertising. And what that means is that if they come in, and our partner Amy is really quite good at all this, but if they come in and they buy the book or they're interested in the book or picking it up, that they want added discounts. So instead of that 55% discount, maybe you're going to drop down to 40%. So that has a numerical value to it. That's where it's soft money, so to speak. But it's a game, Joan. It's a game we play. That's what I can tell you. All right, getting reviews post-publication. What if you didn't get picked up in that 3 to 4 window? Well, you can go back to these same people again. Kirkus Reviews will guarantee a review. You don't know if it's going to be good or bad for $4.25. Publishers Weekly will continue. Right now they have it up for free. There's something called Blue Ink Reviews that has an excellent reputation with Ingram, with Baker and Taylor, with a lot of the libraries that I know of, and they're $3.95. And you just go to their websites, just do a .com on all this. And Forward Reviews has Clarion for $4.99 doing that. So you can bring those into play post, but those would be your key players. And then, of course, you've got Amazon reviewers and all those, but that's going to be in our timeline discussion.
Judith, I see this question a lot even in your Author U LinkedIn group, which if you're not in Judith's Author U LinkedIn group, you need to get into it. It is fabulous. The question is, should I pay to get a review? What is your advice?
Right, and some people have a very black and white saying absolutely not. I think almost any review is a good idea because it helps build buzz. If you can get them free, that's the best. Always, okay. Always. But if you miss the boat and people, as audiences become less sophisticated, for example, Clarion is the Forward Reviews. Clarion. And I'll tell you, I didn't think about putting mine, Author U, creating and building your author and book platforms in for the early reviews. So I went in and I shot it to Forward, actually, because I ran into them at a conference, Joan, you and I were at in San Francisco. And when they saw the book, they said, oh my God, why didn't we have this book before you published? So, egg on my face. So I sent it in. And I ended up getting a 5-star, which is the best, review from them. And I mean, I couldn't have written this review any better.
And you didn't pay $4.99.
No. And it was fabulous. And this book went on to win the Book of the Year in my category, which was announced at the American Library Association with where Forwards was just in June. So you never know. But I think that if you miss the boat, you haven't got it, I think I would go back and pre-select. I know from Blue Ink Reviews, they've got an excellent website. Forward Reviews has an excellent website, so does Kirkus. That I would be going back there, and you can't, maybe you can't kiss them all, but you can cherry pick. and use them. So, and I know people have bought the book because of, that review. So, all right, marketing and PR. Oh, well, this could be a money pit, right? You can pay someone to help you market and set up blog tours and the like for anywhere from $10 to maybe $65 an hour. So for $10, you're going to go, with kid, maybe a college student, but that could be the best bucks you pay because they're so techno savvy and they understand that the internet is a town hall. Or you can go to $40 to $65 for someone who's a more professional marketer. You've got to look at your budget in here. And marketing PR marketing is certainly critical. And as I said, Joan is going to be talking about some publicity strategies next week. So, she's got a zillion ideas that are on the cheap and out, and you can do really well. Right, Joan?
You bet.
So, anyway, I think this is a time when you're thinking about marketing PR, if you can get a VA or one of these type of people in for a VA virtual assistant to help you with some of the stuff because you're going to be going on overwhelm. It's huge. And bring that together, that I would be looking at that way. And I can tell you I've got 3 different people that help me doing different things so I can I like to market so I can focus on that. Or I can say I want you to go do this and I can assign them out and they take it and run with it. We recommend you pay someone at least 10 hours to market, and on the high end 40 hours. That's like a full-time person. So again, it's your budget factor and what you can do. Ideally, you do a lot of the marketing yourself. It's really important to learn. A lot of people ask me, they've heard me say this, how did you get in People magazine? I had a cover feature on People magazine, 4 pages inside. How did you get on Oprah? How were you a regular on CNN? Blah, 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 blah. I learned to pitch and market yourself. And if there's one thing, and certainly Joan and I are just radical on, is you've got to know who your market is, who's your buyer, and you've got to know who you are in your book and how to pitch that with clarity and succinct and maybe a little pithy at the same time. So
I'm glad you put the price down there for the publicist.
Yeah.
Some people think they can get a publicist to do a book campaign for $500.
No,
and
that
you'll barely get a press release written for that amount. And I should also add, Judith, this is important, that even if you do spring for a publicist, let's say you're spending about $2,500 a month, that's about typical, you're still going to have to work your butt off on publicity for your book because the publicist is only going to be going after top-tier media. They're going to be going after, like Jude said here, radio spot, pickups, Good Morning America, National Public Radio, USA Today, and you're going to have to do everything else. So don't think that just because you can afford a publicist that you can wash your hands of it and walk away. You're still going to have to work like crazy alongside the publicist.
Right, but next week pay attention to what Joan will tell you because there's a lot of tips that you can create to open the door and get that rolling. And that's what I learned to do years ago when I started publishing. So with that said, your cost on the very low end, maybe $100. That means you do everything yourself. And on the high end, you could be spending $5K and up. So it could be a money pit. We just want you to be aware of that in those areas. So it's part of the budget. Right, distribution, free for E, which is mean if you're electronic, you're not going to spend money for distribution. Amazon and Barnes & Noble and Apple's iBooks and Kobo and the other platforms, they just distribute you out there. And going that in the e-world. If you just, and I know one of the strategies for a lot of authors is, you know what, Amazon is my distributor. I'm just going to sell my books through Amazon, and I'm going to have it rocking and rolling there. And, I might whip over to Barnes & Noble and have it there. But that's what they're doing. And then and that's for their print, and then they coattail with the ebook. So you're not going to be spending money there. You just guide everybody directly there, or you have a link from your website which maybe links to PayPal. They can pay for it, and you do the shipping, or you have a warehouse. And I'll mention that in a little bit, that does the shipping for you. All right, for fee. So now, any third party, any third party will take a percentage of each book sold. So get ready for that. Make sure you understand the costs. They vary greatly on that. And they will come in. For example, you've got to get it to the vendor who's going to then ship it to the buyer. There's a cost. There might be a warehousing cost to that. Now, Amazon doesn't charge, for example, a warehousing cost, and they do charge a fee to the buyer on their side, but you got to get it to them somehow to make it happen. There could be, if it comes back, the fee distribution, if it comes back, let's hope it doesn't, but they do come back, there could be a restocking fee. That means that they're going to have to handle it. They bring it back in their inventory. It's time and money to them. You're going to get charged for that. There could be a lovely little fee called miscellaneous. That means they can't nail down what it is, but I had a contract that had a miscellaneous, and my God, I got hit $20 a month. And I said, what is miscellaneous? Well, that's when we can't figure out where to put it. We just automatically charge everyone $20 a month. They could take a percentage of sales, of your net sales, and they 10% of up to, that's that 10% of up to 35% of your net billable. So if you sold $5,000 in net billable to Amazon, that's that 45% to the author publisher, that they could take anywhere from 10 to 35%, and there could be other related costs. So this is when you've got to do number crunching. Just do number crunching to try to really figure out if it's worthwhile. Now I have, Amy has a distribution company, and she does marketing as well, called newshelves.com, and it's always smart. She's very smart to talk to her on what, does this make sense? Now, book cover. This is where we have another new one of our guest chicks at sea this year is going to be Michelle DeFilippo, who is an expert in book cover design and interior design. And readers do judge a book by its cover. Don't ever estimate. But you don't want to win the ugly book cover contest. And by the way, of my 31 books, 18 were published by New York, and I would say a couple of them would have been contenders. It's critical that your cover design be optimized for print, digital, thumbnail sizes, mobile, e-readers, all of those. So you may end up with a couple of variations of your book cover. And make sure that you talk to your designers about that. Your costs on the really low end could be $50. I mean, I'm talking really low, to up to $3,500. We've seen great book covers for well under $1,000. So just know that this is in your budget. You're not going to escape it. I don't care if you're a fabulous graphic designer. You may have some ideas, but please work with a cover designer. This is what they do. There are certain formulas, there are certain rules, some known, some kind of unwritten, that they really know to do it by, and make sure that your book cover can compete with a New York type of cover. That's what your market is going against. Now, let's jump. Maybe, Joan, are there any questions that left over from that before I jump into timelines?
Yeah, we've got a couple of them. Somebody wants to know who the heck is Boker, and how did they get that right to sell those ISBNs?
I don't know who granted that. I don't know if that's a congressional granting or someone from some office in the government. It's a governmental deal, but they got the exclusive rights. And it's R.R. Bowker, B-O-W-K-E-R, and Bowker owns it here in our neck of the woods in the U.S. In other regions, Australia is different. Singapore is going to be different. They all have people who issue those ISBN numbers. All right?
Okay. Another question. Can you have your printer shipped directly to the distributor?
Of course. You should. The smart thing to do is to do what we call a split ship, and have some shipped to you. And don't underestimate. Don't say, well, just send me 50. You need several hundred copies you're going to do a regular print run. You need several hundred. You're going to carry around at least a case in your car at all times. You never know when you're going to be moving a few books here and there and going in. You may have go to a book signing. I remember going to a signing, and guess what? Big major store here in Denver, Colorado, where I'm based, they forgot to order books. But I had a couple of cases that we sold every one of them. So wow. Make sure you have that, and you can do that split shipment to your distributor. And they go out at the same time. All right, let's jump into timelines. And this is all our scheduling. So 4 to 12 months out, you got to be thinking business. Think business here. You register with your state, the name of your publishing company. You're going to start thinking about your book title, what you've got. You're going to start thinking of .coms. What .coms, including, by the way, misspellings. So if you have your publishing company, like my publishing company is Mile High Press, well, it's pretty hard to screw that one up. But I have also a name, Judith Briles. I have the book Shepherd. I can't tell you how many times people spell shepherd a different way. So you want to get those misspellings and then redirect them to your main site. Think about getting some financial software. QuickBooks works just fine. QuickBooks works just fine. Quicken, some people start up just on Quicken on doing that. Branding should be in play. Your author website should start, if you don't have it, you start thinking about doing this. And this would be in the far end of the 12-month scale. By 4 months, boy, that baby should be really starting to shape up on that. Think about ideal endorsements. If you had a magic wand, who would you love to endorse your book that your readers, your buyers would say, oh my gosh, I have to have this. Start thinking media, marketing, publicity. You're going to start being a real voyeur and observer of what's going out, especially in your genre. You've got to think ruthless editing on your own part. Sure, you loved your kitten Muffy, but really, did your kitten Muffy move the story forward? And if it didn't, Muffy's out. You can acknowledge her in your acknowledgments. Connect with bookstores in your area. Start chatting it up. Get to know them. And, you know, especially in the independent bookstores, they want to support authors. And they can be a wonderful kind of little side consultant as you go along. And make sure you talk to the buyer in your specific genre. And boy, social media, social media, social media. You're going to hear me say this a lot. Social media, it's where you've got to start developing moxie. You're going to start thinking about getting your ISBNs sometime during this period. And I'm a huge believer that one of the best ways to move your books is with your mouth. So you start setting up speaking. If you're thinking about speaking to associations, they book is at 12 months and out, longer. Local people could be much shorter. You know, they could be setting it up a month ahead. Who knows? But start thinking that way. So that's an overall view of 5 to 12 months. Now, 5 months out, we're going to start getting shorter here. Think about, you better have, for many developer editing, could be, it should say may, so typo here, may be needed. So make sure that if you're in play, that the person who you've selected can get you queued up pretty fast, because they may have other projects. And a lot of times developmental editing is a 3 to 4 month block of time. And you're wondering, probably when I threw that $20,000 number up there, you're thinking, why is it so expensive? Are you prepared to pay exclusively for someone's time for several months? That's not just going to be a $1,000 fee. Copy editing is going to start coming into play here. It would be an ideal to identify who you want to work with. Your front cover should start to be developed if it hasn't already. So start noodling it, and you're going to check out what others are out there doing. Think about marketing and sales plans. Are you going to do it yourself? Are you going to bring in some other players? Budgeting comes into play. Your draft of your book might possibly go out for possible endorsements if it's in good enough shape. So that's important. You could start thinking about, you don't need it this time, but you can start thinking about if you have an idea of what your final word count is, that you do a guesstimate of page count, getting your Library of Congress number. You are going to eventually want to get this, and you will place it on your copyright page when you have it, along with the ISBN will go there, as well as on the ISBN goes on the back cover of your book. You want to ID.
Is there a cost, Judith? Is there a cost to getting the Library of Congress number?
No, there is not a cost, but there is a cost for registering your book with the Library of Congress. Those are two different animals. So you get the number, but this is when you send in your book to the Library of Congress. And this is a smart thing to do, especially if your book could be picked up for a screenplay, or you're going to be pitching out there, or there's any chance of, someone being speedy, lifting your words or something, because if it's registered with the Library of Congress, you have higher damage possibilities financially. So you do want to do that. Start creating media releases, even if it's not ready to go, but you can start thinking about drafting here. This is very important to pick up an email signature. So when you're going out, that at the bottom of every email, you're the author of the forthcoming blah, 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 blah. And if you have your book cover, put that book cover up and start letting people know it's coming. Speaking, continue to think about setting up speaking, because this is, in my opinion, as I've said it before, a great way to move books. Think about how we're going to sell the book, the distribution, where are we going to warehouse this, how are we going to feed it in, and start thinking about that. And then it's never too early to set up an Amazon Advantage account. Do you realize you could set up your Amazon account? Once you have your book cover, you could actually start putting things up. Even though, like, today is August 6th, maybe your book's not going to be available till November 14th. You could still create that account. You could say publishing date is November 14th. Amazon won't let people buy it, but they can pre-buy it. No one can post a review, but they can pre-buy it. And I'm going to tell you a story before we leave today about how one of my clients did a pre-buy, and some very exciting things happened today. So we were doing a happy dance in our offices. Start thinking possibly doing a bestseller campaign, because it takes a time to noodle and put this all together. So all of this list I put up doesn't mean you can do everything right now this day. You have to have it all done. But these are the kind of things that you want to start thinking about. Okay, cover. Oh yeah, I need to think about some publications that maybe I could send my book to that they might want to review, or maybe do a feature article. Yeah, I could do that email signature today. All right, so those kind of things. And you start pre-selling, the possibility of pre-selling that book. And with an Amazon account, you can start throwing people there. You can start doing that, or you could take some orders yourself. And I used to do this all the time when I was on the road speaking. And then, of course, here's our friend social media back. So that's 5 months out. Now, when you look at 4 months out, marketing, and think about creating postcards with your book cover on the front, and something, something that will catch their attention, how to buy the book, or maybe you're using it for speaking to pitch yourself, that your speaker, the book is coming. It's ideal if your participants do this, or your employees do this, blah, blah, blah. Bookmarks are tools. Your copy editing should be finished. This first pass of the layout should be done. If there's indexing, this is the time when you've got the first pass of layout, this is the time when indexing is going to start being thought about. That cold eye edit is going to come into play. All the cover copy will come into play as well, because we're going to, when this thing goes to print, everything has got to be ready all at once. Final changes, including pricing. And by the way, maybe you thought your book was going to be $12.95, but things have changed. Maybe you need to drop it to $10.95, or maybe you were wrong and the right price is $17.95. How do you find out? Well, you need to find out what competitive books are selling for that have a fairly current copyright date of the same size page count as your book. If you are not selling in the bookstore, if you're going to be selling to people who hear you speak, your pricing is going to kind of be what you think they will pay. And I actually had a case where I had a book that I brought out at $29. It was for a healthcare market, and I realized I priced it too low. These people were used to paying $50 and $60. Next print round, I raised it to $35. ARCs, 4 months out, ARCs are mailed out for reviews and endorsements to the key players like Publishers Weekly, forward reviews. Local groups, talk to them about speaking. They're probably more receptive. And you might pitch it that, you know, I have a brand new book coming, I'll waive my speaking fee if everyone here gets a copy of the book. And you can make an arrangement maybe at the local bookstore, so you're a hero with them and you can drive all the sales through that local bookstore. If you haven't had a photo done, maybe you want to do a photo. And I'm all for more casual type photos. On there. Make you do color as well as black and white. Make sure that they're very high resolution. Reaching out to book clubs out there, and there's a variety of, you can just Google, you know, book clubs and start tracking this way. This is a great way to build buzz for your book. And if anyone owes you a favor, start calling them in and talking to them about hosting a signing and get it set up. And then continue with your pre-selling campaign and start tuning into what's hot and trending in your local media. And if you can make comments even though your book's not out, you might become the expert and go ahead and connect with them and let them know you're the author of the forthcoming book. This is what we found in our research, and I've got 3 tips that will help your listeners with this blah blah blah. And then of course social media. Now we move into 3 months and out. Books are coming. You'll be going to print this month. If you haven't already, there's a lot to do. Continue to send out ARCs and seek endorsements. Your author website, you want to continue to add copy. You're starting to buff this baby up. You want to hone your pitch for your book and yourself, so fine-tuning here. You want to plan on how you're going to have your kickoff celebration, do your shout-outs and let the world know. Think about planning a virtual book tour. And I'm going to encourage you to listen to my radio show from last week. And you can find it on the Book Shepherd website. If you just click on the air, it's going to be right there, the latest one. Listen in, a lot of hot tips. You want to connect with those bookstores in your area if you haven't already. Reconnect and just let them know that you're excited, you've gone to print. And you know those postcards I said to print the previous month? Just drop them a card and they keep that in mind. They see that cover, they know it's coming. Remember, visual, visual, visual. Blogging is very important, and this is where you start shouting out and let people know what's happening and what's going on. Nonfiction can talk about all their specifics under there. In your email signature, if you didn't put it in, I would say in my email signature, I'm the author of blank, blank, blank. The forthcoming blank, 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 available this fall. And remember, fall starts in September and ends in December. Winter starts in December, ends in March. So don't, if you say February 1st, you know, what happens if it doesn't come in and all of a sudden you've got egg on your face? Go with your seasons and you're really in better shape. And of course, social media. Now, 2 months out, you want to really start thinking media. Pull in those chits if you've got any out there with pals and friends and colleagues. You want to think about your ebook being done because it's smart to have a simultaneous, in my opinion, release of both available, and make sure you sign up for the Matchbook program with Amazon that really is designed to push the print book, and it sells the ebook from anywhere from free up to $2.99. But make sure you do that. It's just check a box under their KDP select program and you're in it. So your ebook should be set up. Printer sends books to warehouse. I'm really happy with Author Fulfillment Services. And you can get information on the authoru.org site under resources and associate members. And they charge about roughly $12 a month to warehouse your book and that is for like a pallet. So a pallet could be like 1,000 books. But $12 a month to warehouse. They will charge you $2 for each book they send out to Sam Smith or Amazon. If they want 3 books each or 12 dozen books, it's $3. So $2 for the handling, $3 for multiples, and then whatever the bare cost of the shipping is. So, I mean, it's really clear and simple. It works for me, and we've been happy with it. Your author website, continue to add copy, continue to fine-tune your pitch, and you know, the more you do it, the better you're going to get. It'll keep coming off. Think about that virtual book tour I mentioned on the last slide. Again, reconnect that the books will be due in any time because you've gone to print the previous month, so plan on 4 to 5 weeks for printing, a regular offset printing. If you're doing print on demand, you know, you're talking a couple of days to a week to have them in. And then you know what, if you're doing print on demand, it's really a good idea to talk to your bookstore locally if you're trying to put books there to see if they will even accept them, because some will not with certain companies. So you want to make sure that you check this out. Secondly, the cost of your print on demand, bookstores is going to want roughly 50% off. And a distributor is going to want 55%. So whatever that range is, that your cost of your book may take out any profit because it's a higher on these single units. So crunch the numbers. Don't be surprised here. If you haven't set up Google Alerts, this is a good time to do it for your name. Put quote marks around your whole name and put quote marks around your book title. Why? Because if your book has a name, let's say I have a book called Author You. If I just put in Author You and the whole title, anything that has author in it is going to be sent to me. So I put the quote marks around the whole phrase I'm looking for on the repeat. So it gets more select. And then continue to blog as we go here in your social media. Now, you're into your happy birthday month. You know, you're moving, and it's a huge, huge bravo from all of us. And, you know, pick a celebration. And it may be that you just need to breathe, which is always good. And you're going to be doing a lot of social media, but plan a celebration. That's a good idea. Now, you still have more. It's like, wait, there's more. So the month of publication, your books are going to start to ship with your pre-orders during this month of publication. You're going to Google and search engines set up to find out who's talking about you. So those are those alerts. You want to approach the Amazon top reviewers. Google them. Find the ones in your genre. Approach them to see if they will review you. Ask everyone who touches your book, who gets your book, to post an Amazon review for you. These matter. They count. People pay attention to them. Make sure that you copy the Amazon reviews and post them onto your website, as well as please make a copy to put on your own, just backup files on your own website. Amazon's robots sometimes take them off, so you need to go through every few days to see if there's anything new. And you know, sometimes people put wonderful headlines in on your review. Make sure you capture that too. Continue to send copies to bookstores to try to goose them to bring it in. The ABA, the American Booksellers Association, has a terrific program that it's cost about $150, and they send out books to, or you can write your own copy. They will send it out to 1,000 independent bookstores, and it allows them to decide if they want to request a copy from you to consider to put in their store. So they're actually looking to check it out. And do they resell these books? Oh, yes, they do. But what it does is it pushes books out and reviews. And you can set the limit, you know, 50 books are available, 100 books are available. So you can do something like that. And then you're going to be going crazy, crazy with social media during this time. And remember this, you are the CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer, during this entire entire campaign. You are calling the shots. You may be engaging people, bringing them in, but you're now got a product in hand. You are no longer thinking, I'm a writer. You're a writer. You're an author, but you're now marketing a product, and that product is called your book. And if you're going to be speaking on your book, you have a secondary product because you're a speaker with that. Now, let me talk to you about Steve Snyder. This was our happy dance this morning. Steve Snyder is the author of Shot Down, the true story of pilot Howard Snyder and the crew of the B-17 Susan Ruth. They were shot down over Belgium. 8 of the 10 survived. They ended up joining the resistance, the crew did, and Howard in particular, with Belgium, and fought alongside against the Nazis. And what was amazing is a lot of the journals that the guys kept, the farmers' wives literally, it saved them all, and eventually they found their way to Steve. On top of that, there is Belgium, every year they have 2 memorials, very lovely memorials. They even have a museum dedicated to his father, Howard Snyder, and that they have a celebration, and this is the 70th year this August, and 25 of them here from the States are going to Belgium to be part of it. Steve has been doing amazing things and chatting up the book. I mean, he is in he's at print. They were shipped today from the printer to the distribution, and then they will go to Amazon. We notified Amazon yesterday that that the book was going to come in roughly a week early, and it would probably be smart to get in an order because we were watching the Amazon rankings of the book, and it got as high as, I think, 21 in military history books during all this time that Steve has had it up for over a month in a pre-order capability. This morning, yesterday we got an order for 395 books from Amazon for the first pre-order, and today, I'm a frequent buyer on Amazon, I got just a random email from Amazon saying, hey, here's some books you might like to look at, and guess what? At the top of the list, it said, if you like military books, you need to get this book. Shot Down was there. No one, I couldn't have bought that. Couldn't have bought that. And it's very exciting. And we actually, because of the attention we were starting to get, we increased, while we were at the printer, we increased our printing run. We went from 1,500 to 2,000 copies. So that's what happens when you're the CMO. And Steve has been working hard. He has houses in Sedona, Arizona, and in California. And the Sedona paper ran an article about it. His friends and pals have been ordering books. The buzz has started for him. And that's savvy marketing to get it going. So, and then now we have this Amazon push out that was totally unexpected. But here you go. I had the same thing happen with another client who actually sold 1,000 copies of her book pre-order with Amazon, and she was up for 3 months. As soon as we had the cover, it was up. So it's a fun story. Now, 7th month and beyond, you're going to approach those top Amazon reviewers. You're going to ask everyone to post a review. You're going to always carry books with you. You're going to continue to seek speaking engagements. And you're going to continue just the hustle all over the internet. You're going to define what kind of genre is right for you. In that, the platform, is it Twitter, is it Facebook, is it Google+, is it Instagram, is it for young adult Tumblrs where you need to be, where is it? And you're going to be very active, and you're going to follow the top influencers on your genres, and you're going to make comments on their blogs so you develop those relationships. That Chief Marketing Officer is never going to go away now. So, Joan, you want to talk about what we have here, or do you want me to continue?
You want a breather?
I can do either.
I'll be happy to jump in, and
all right, go ahead.
I'll call on you to give some of it. Okay.
Okay, there we go.
This, my friends, is a very small slice, very small, It's a snack-size sample, if you can believe that, of what you're going to be getting on the cruise. And Georgia McCabe, who's on the line here, she has herself muted. She made a great point here.
I'm here.
Hi, Georgia.
There she is. Hi, Georgia.
Hi, Judith.
Georgia is
Hi,
a
Joni.
social media expert who's going to be one of the book experts on sea, and she made a great comment here, and I want to read it. She says, on the cruise, we will be covering strategy from an overall standpoint along with a marketing strategy. All of the things discussed here become part of the upfront planning. So even though Judith is sort of giving you the outline of the timeline and the costs, you have to take this and sort of put it into the big puzzle piece with all of the other things to really make that picture puzzle, you know, look like something. So this is what we're going to do on the cruise. We're going to spend a lot of individual time with each of you. If you have not cruised before, I would highly recommend it. I would not have paid for a cruise for all the tea in China. And when Judith invited me to go on this one last year, I thought it was a great opportunity to, you know, hang around with authors and hang around with my friends. And I'm so glad I did. We had an absolute blast. This time we're going for a full week, January 18th to the 25th. We are going to the Eastern Caribbean, and we are leaving out of Fort Lauderdale. And I believe, Judith, is our first stop NASA? Is that correct?
It is. Yes, it is NASA, and then we're going to go to St. Thomas, and then we'll go to St. Martin. And then we have a long cruise back. But what's fun is we're in a beautiful ship.
Right, and the way that we do this is we set aside our teaching days for the days when we are at sea. And it's pretty intense. There's a lot of audience interaction. You get a chance to ask just tons of questions. You can hang out with us. You can lie next to us in the solarium and the chair. I spent just a lot of time with a couple of the authors last year, just one-on-one, just talking about fun stuff, you know. And then we got to talking about books, and it was a great chance for, you know, for them to get some one-on-one time with us. We are nailing down the topics today, and we should have them up on the website in the next couple of weeks. Do you want to go on to the next slide, Judith?
We will, and I just want to say that you'll see that there's myself, Joan, Amy, and Georgia, and then I just popped up Michelle DeFlippo, who is going to be our cover interior pro with us, so she will be there as well. So that'll be fun. All right, so we have these workshops, Joan.
We have most of what we do is group workshops, and we're going to be doing something different in this year. This time, all four of us, and in some cases 5 of us, will be in the room jointly presenting. It's not just going to be one of us presenting like we did last time. The other thing that we have planned, we're going to do some hot seats with you, and hot seats are always fun. We pick somebody from the audience to come up and sit on the hot seat, and you tell us what your book is about. And the book, The Chicks at Sea, in addition to all of the people in the audience, all the other authors get to throw out ideas, and somebody stands at the easel with a marker and takes down all the ideas so that that author walks away with a couple pages full of great ideas that they can institute once they get back on land. We did this at the Author U Extravaganza this year for several of the authors, and it's so helpful, and it's a great chance for the authors to help each other, because the 5 of us, we aren't the only ones that have great ideas. You guys have great ideas too for other people sitting up there on the hot seat. You know, we're all so close to our businesses, and a lot of times we can't see what looks so obvious to other people.
Exactly, exactly. All right, and then we have a beautiful ship. And I have to tell you, St. Thomas has one of the most beautiful, Megan's Beach is one of the most beautiful beaches, and if you look up the top 20 beaches in the world, it'll probably be in the top 10. So you can go to that, because as Joan said, when we're in port, you get to go play that whole time. We're not doing classes during that time. So
also in St. Thomas, you can shop till you drop.
Oh yes.
The shopping in St. Thomas is just phenomenal.
Yeah, jewelry, and you know, I've showed a couple of pictures of the ship. This is a huge, huge ship, the Allure of the Seas. Royal Caribbean is the line, and it literally has. When you talk about Central Park, it has trees growing in the middle of the ship, going down. It's just a wonderful place to go in, and if you want the little kid in you to come out, or if you want to bring a little kid, you've got there's a full-blown carousel, you know, with the wood carving horses, which is beautiful on it. All right, Joan, who should attend?
Okay, who should attend? If you're an author and you want to write a book, and you think you might have an idea, or you're just looking for ideas of things to write about, come on, this is a great opportunity to let us help you birth that book. If you're an author who's writing and you're just not getting anywhere, and I know I'm a writer, that writing can drag on and on, we'll get you unstuck. Join us. If you're almost done and you're looking at Judith's timeline during this webinar saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe I skipped all this stuff, and you need a plan in place quickly, join us in January. We will help move you along. If you're almost done, or if you're done, let's say your book's on the market for several months and sales are flat, come on board with us. We'll give you all kinds of great ideas on how to get those books moving off either the physical shelf or the digital shelves. This is truly a special event. It's a working vacation for all of us, and it's going to be an absolute blast. And there are a lot of amenities that we're going to be offering you on this cruise that can only be booked through us. And if you're one of those people who wants to, you know, look forward to fun and sun and sand and also getting that book done finally, you've got to join us in January. It's going to be an absolute blast.
Or rebirthing a book that's limping along, Joan. I mean, because a lot of books do come out and they just kind of are hanging there.
Language.
So we can goose them up, or we can pull out your next book, which is even more fun. Right, this is a partial group picture that we grabbed a few of us really quickly, but we were having a good time there. We all were having a good time, and a few of these people are coming back again, which is wonderful to hear, right?
You know what, Judith, it's also so exciting. Go back to that picture. When I see where a lot of those people were in January and knowing where they are today, I mean, I'm just, you know, I think it just saved them so much time. But it also saved them money, because one of the things that I know we didn't get into, but a lot of authors, you know, they'll go on various webinars, they'll go to various seminars, and they'll just go buy, 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 buy. And they never have the plan. They never can really see all the pieces. And I think what's really cool about, you know, what we put together is, you know, we are hands-on. I mean, they are having the opportunity to be with us literally 7 days. And it's not like 4 hours here, 2 hours there. I mean, we are there. Yeah. So in the long run, from my perspective, strategically, which is kind of my area, strategy, marketing, social media, this is one of the most strategic things I think someone could do. Yep. It will save them money in the long run.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Here we go. Joan, you want to do this?
You can do the pricing, Judith.
All right. So here's important that you need to get registered or let us know that you're going to come, because prices are going to go up on September 15th. We've got really a killer deal. And when I talk to you about the early bird pricing, if you were to go to the Royal Caribbean site, that by the time you add the gratuities and the fuel costs and the port taxes, you would be paying almost $1,000 more per person. So it's $16.95 per person. There needs to be 2 people in the cabin, so it'd be lovely if you brought somebody with you, or we will try to match you up with somebody. If you decide, you know what, I'm coming, but I just want to have a cabin all by myself, it's $25.95. And if you're bringing someone with you, but just one of you is going to be going to all the workshops with us, the cost per cabin then would be $31.95. It will bump up $300 per rate starting September 15th. And of course, and then as I said, this includes all your taxes. It includes all your gratuities, and it includes any miscellaneous costs that the cruise line taps on, and they do those things. It includes your entertainment, all your food, and a decent cabin, and they're all balcony cabins. So the balcony is facing the ocean. So since we're on a cruise, you can look at the water. The water's calming. It could be your muse, like it is for me, but it is really relaxing, and everyone loved having the balcony room last year. That was a huge, huge plus. And the entertainment was really quite good, we found on the ship. The only thing you have to pay for is, and I don't know if Georgia, did you look at any of the pricing, what the airfare pricings are?
I did, Judith, and like right now, if I just pick Denver, round trip, $235.
Okay, so I'm booking this week. That's really, why pay $400 when you can do $200?
Right. So I mean, it depends on where people are coming from, but that's just Denver. I'll do Chicago right now. I mean, right now, I mean, everybody's running specials. So if you want to go on, I use a site called Kayak, K-A, yeah, and it'll allow you to compare. The only thing that won't come up is if there's like Southwest. I think you have to still go to the Southwest site. Right.
But Fort Lauderdale has a it's a modernized airport. It's easy to get in and out of, and the port is just minutes away. So.
And it looks, Judith, I'm looking at even Chicago, $245.
Yeah.
I mean, so it looks like right around now, they're like, get them now.
Okay. So then one other thing that we've arranged for, you don't have to pay $16.95 all at once. You can if you want, but you can set up an arrangement, and we've got it on the website. You just go to publishingatsea.com. You click up, register, and you can pay it out over 6 months. So right now you could come on board and you could just put it into play for less than $300 a month, and you will have it paid off, before you even get there, which is a good thing. All right, so next up is just a reminder, if you want, come and play with us. You've heard Georgia, brilliant in social media. Joan is brilliant in publicity and PR strategies, and Amy is wonderful with bookmarking related and some distribution channels and getting your book into libraries, etc. That if you want to play with us, if you want the good, you want to come, and we don't want you to have the bad and the ugly in the process. So that's
Judith,
where we are.
Judith, the one thing I wanted to add is this isn't going to be where we've got 300 people, or I mean,
yeah.
it's a very, I mean, we are being very, tight in terms of how many people we can really take and do the kind of job we want to do. So, right now, if anybody is interested, I'd highly recommend it. I sometimes wish I could be a student myself sometimes, because there's always things I think I know so much, but yet every time I'm with you guys, I just learn more. So.
Me too. So, Joan?
I was the cruise virgin last year. I used to cruise before. And, I mean, I had a million questions, about cruising, and luckily my one sister has been on many cruises. And so, but if you're not sure what to expect, I mean, the thing that I loved about it is I don't think I took my wallet out the entire time we were on ship, except once they had some big jewelry sale or something, and I may have paid with some jewelry I bought. Other than that, I didn't take my wallet out. It was great. You don't have to tip. And it's not packing and unpacking and packing and unpacking. You unpack and you're done.
Exactly.
And yeah, and I heard some of the excursions that you guys went on were fabulous as well. I didn't go on them. I preferred to just sort of hang around the ship, but the excursions are fun, and it was just a blast. It was just a blast.
Well, I have to tell you, if you like ziplining in St. Thomas is great. I do ziplining, so.
Oh my God! Hey, Elizabeth has a question, and I think she wants to know if there's a list of single people looking for cabin mates so they can connect and possibly share.
The best thing, Elizabeth, is it's just to register, because we will get singles. And what I try to do is I do an introduction, just let you meet each other, and I try to match up I try to do the best job I can. I'm not going to put a guy with a gal, but we'll figure that one out. But we do that. And so far, last year, we had a couple of cabins that had roommates, and they all had a great time and made good friendships.
Well, I think the fact that they're balcony cruises, you're not like zipped in this little tiny room. I mean, it makes all the difference in the world. I mean, it's a nice size space.
It is, and the reality is the ship is huge. You're not going to spend much time in your cabin. You'll brush your teeth, you'll change your clothes, and you'll get prone in the evening. Otherwise, you're going to be out and about. I promise you. I promise you.
One of the things, Judith, one last thing, and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
One of the things that I don't think we covered enough is when they walk away with a complete book. The type of information. It's not like they're just going to have to be sitting there taking notes. It's all of our cheat sheets. It's all of our tips. And they get that in print as well to take home.
Oh, yeah. And for example, the timeline that I went through, you're going to get 10 pages of detail with far more backup from it. You know, and that'll be kind of a little bonus that we'll add on to it. For that. So, Joan, you're kind of controlling there. Any questions you want to, and then we should say next week we're going to talk about how to generate ideas for a book publicity campaign with Joan. So that's the 13th, and that will be up and running and ready to register on the Publishing at Sea website coming up. And then questions.
Georgia, you might, for some reason, the questions are not coming through on my end. If you see any on there that need to be answered, could you read them?
Sure. Okay, we answered the one from Lucia on can you have a printer shipped directly to the publisher.
I see one here we didn't. One here we didn't answer.
If you're self-employed, did you see this one from Carol? Hi, Carol. If self-employed, is there any reason why you can't use your existing company as a publisher?
If you're self-employed, I don't even understand the connection. If you're self-employed,
I think she probably means the name.
Using her business. Her business, yeah.
Okay, so Carol, I'm going to unmute you. Can you tell me the name of your company? Carol, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can. What's the name of your company?
I have a couple consulting businesses, so yeah, so these would probably be business books.
Okay. My only concern is, you know what, I was trying to unmute everybody, but that's not working, so I'm going to come back to you. If you hold up your hand, I'll come to you and unmute you. How's that sound? Leave Carol open. If it sounds like, if the business, it's usually not a good idea. It's better to make it sound like a publishing company, that it's different, and I would never put your name in it, ever, because that screams self-published.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, so, yeah, because I'm in Colorado, too, and all, you know, the businesses are both set up here and registered with the Secretary of State's office, but I thought, well, if I can save that another extra filing fee and all that
Well,
stuff.
you can make it a DBA of. Can you tell me the name of your company? Is that okay?
Well, one is called Keen Group, Q-E-A-N Group.
I would call it like the Keen Press.
Okay. Okay.
And then it would be a division of, if that would work with you.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oops, I'm hearing background. The next question was, what about the back cover? This is from Andy Phillips. What about the back cover of the book? Do you finish it before the ARC?
Hi, Andy. You could certainly have it done and do some final tweaking, but you're not going to have the entire back cover displayed on the ARC. It's going to be cut because there's other information. And next time you come into my office, look at the couple of the ARCs. Andy's also in Colorado. Next time you come in, look at a couple of the ARCs that I can show you here as models, and you can see what I'm talking about.
We also have from Terrence. He said, I assume Publishers Weekly selects from applicants who they choose to review for free.
Yes. Yeah, and the first choice seems to always be the big boys. Michelle, I've actually unmuted you, so if you want to add to this. but it's usually going to be the bigger ones. But, you know, I'm seeing more and more independent presses reviewed by Publishers Weekly.
Yeah. If she doesn't come on, the next question is, do audiobooks need an ISBN?
We had that earlier, and they don't need them, but I would probably use one anyway. All right. Let's see.
Okay.
Did Lisa write in her question, or do we need to bring that in? All right, Lisa, do you have a question?
No, I just had a question about the distributor. They can do a split ship, and you answered that.
Okay, great. Nice to have you. All right, anybody else with a question? You hold up your hand. I will open it up and just let you ask it if you haven't written it in. All right. I think we got everyone. All right, and does anyone else see any questions loose that I didn't see?
Nope. Wait a minute. Let me just look. Same question, Carol.
Okay.
Ebooks and ISBN. Okay. Yeah, we answered that. Okay.
All right, we have MJ.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. I guess what Carol said is the same question with regard to audiobooks. Is that applied? Would you recommend the same thing for ebooks?
I would definitely put an ISBN on an ebook. All right, MJ has a question. Do you want to orally ask it, MJ?
Yes, please. First of all, this session was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You mentioned a call that happens on Monday. Can you tell us more about that?
Oh, yes. We have a special session we do every Monday at noon Eastern. Noon Eastern, and that it is called Author Mentoring Monday. And like Ari, who was on the call here, she is a regular listening in and participant. It is a totally open mic. Michelle DeFlippo is on it, and Amy Collins is on it. And we may kick it off with something that is standard going on, but then we just open it up and questions, and they just keep asking. Who is ever on can ask any question, and then when the hour's up, we all say goodbye, and it's next week. And you can get the numbers if you go to the authoru.org site. You'll see it on the flash banner that goes across, but I'm going to orally give it to everybody. And it's 605-475-5920. So that's 605-495-59, let's see, 605-475-5920. That's the main conference line, 605-475-5920. Then you put in the access code, which is 325-2604. 325-2604. And
I just put it in the chat window, Judith.
Thank you. And then you put it into the pound sign after that, and you just come in. Just make sure that you have background noise off. The barking dog is out of the room. Be very sensitive. If you're clicking on your keyboard, we can hear you. If you're shuffling papers, we can hear you. But it's really a good dialogue as we go back and forth on it.
Thank you.
So you're welcome. But we'd love to see you. Love to see you on that. All right. So any other questions? I think that does it. So I think we can bid adieu, and we'll see everyone hopefully next week. And tell your friends, because there's a lot of this is great information to join us in. Joan is the master of getting the recordings up. If you go to the publishingatc.com website, make sure you explore it. Register now. Let us know, because we only have so many cabins, and I can tell you over a third of them are gone right now. The January 18th to the 25th, get information. Listen to last week's webinar on blurbs and endorsements was wonderful with Amy Collins. And Georgia, you're going to be doing a webinar in 2 weeks. Do you know what you're going to be doing it on?
I think I'm still thinking about that, but I'm going to kind of give everybody a little taste of some simple things that they absolutely need to think about strategically from a business standpoint, and then also from a marketing strategy, and then tie in just some snippets on how social media fits into all of that. So
that's great. Yeah,
that's the idea.
And then I think what we're going to do is after, this is up to the 15th, and we need to get you all in because we have our deadline. Prices go up after the 15th. But what we're going to be doing is after we have our registrations, we're even going to do a couple of special webinars just before we even go, just for the people who are going to prep you up. So you're getting lots of our time. Great. Thank you, Joni, for your help.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Judith. This was great. Georgia, great to see you again.
Yes, everybody, and thanks everybody for joining us and sticking with us.
See you next week.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.